Alright, Rule 33, Temporary Abandonment Wells Replugging Requirements. Title 32, Natural Resource Commission, Article 29, Oil and Gas, Indiana. Rule 23, Temporary Abandonment Wells and Well Plugging Requirements. Operator with the owner and operator must plug with the abandoned well with the determined the dry hole with the chief that produce oil, natural gas, coal, bed, methane. No longer operative with the purpose of the well is permitted with the owner unless the operator with the authorized delay plugging and abandoning the well and under the Section 3 rules grant and approve. Rule to temporary abandoned wells under Section 4 of this rule. The responsibility for plugging a well, owner and operator well is responsible for the plugging well. Indiana Code 1437 of the rule. Person not owner and operator of the well who intended for the plugged well were to re-enter with a clean out with the previously plugged well for the purpose of replugging of the well, subject to notice plan requirements of Section 6 through 8 of this rule. Requirements Section 9 through 22 of this rule. Requirement wells reporting requirements Section 23 of this rule. Requirements of well site cleanup and restoration under 24 of this rule. Deferring plugging and abandoning of the well, owner and operator of the may defer over the plugging and abandoning of the well required under the Section 1 of the rules or over the cease on the production, while otherwise compliance Indiana Code 1437 of the article owner and operator set by the requirements of Section owner and operator shall specify the day of the which the well with the intent of the plug which shall more than 1 year of the day of the provided notice under the section for any of the well notice intent with the deferred plugging and abandonment of the provided by the owner and operator shall do the following equipment well with intact leak well with a well head cap with a well with a valve figure configured to monitoring casing tubing annular pressure. Request for the division director to demonstrate the well does not threaten underground source of the drinking water, monitoring well head pressure of the fluid level of the well, perform mechanical integrity test of the casing, temporary abandonment of the well, owner and operative of the well, temporarily abandonment of the well, otherwise meet with the requirements of Indiana Code 1437 of the article will conform with the requirements of the section. Temporary abandonment of the well, owner and operative must show the application temporary with abandonment form prescribed by the division 60 days after any of the following day of the drilling casing of the well is completed. Day of the operation of the well is terminated. The expiration period of the drilling of the owner and operative for the abandoning of the well under Section 3 of this rule. Application temporary abandonment shall include sufficient information to demonstrate the engineering, geological, economic reason for the retaining of the well, the temporary abandonment status outweigh potential benefit thereof operating the well, with the plugging the well, owning the operator shall ensure the well with the mechanical integrity does not otherwise threaten an underground source of the drinking water, doing with the following: installing tubing, packing, mechanical bridge plug with the cement, other suitable plug place for the well within 200 feet of the perforated open hole and interval cemented portion, casing no less than 100 feet below the lowermost underground source of the drinking water, either one, remove any fluid level at least 100 feet below the base of the lowest underground source of drinking water pressure of the tasting cease for the pack of the plug with at least 5 years of the pressure of at least 300 pounds per square inch of the period of 30 minutes, pressure varying no more than 3% of the during the test period with the monitoring of the fluid level of the well, acoustical wireline measuring methods on an annual basis with the measure required owner and operator to also comply with the following report result of monitoring annually with the form prescribed by the division. Fluid level closer than 100 feet of the below the lowest underground source of the drinking water, owner and operator shall notice for the 24 hours either to verify at least one or every 2 years analyze sample of the fluids in the water that does not pose threat to the underground source of drinking water, one or use one other method of the subsection demonstrate mechanical integrity of the well, nothing to stem division 1 and 2 of the mechanical integrity for a gas well with a minimum well head pressure of the 100 pounds per square inch established in accordance with at least 10% of the initial shut-off pressure of the shell bleed off. Well should be in back of the supervision inspector well return with the maximum shut-in pressure of the pressure maintaining the constant level 30 minutes pressure inspector pressure maintains the device of the displaying readout shut-in pressure attached for the wellhead accessible at all times inspected by the inspector. Temporary and permanent well under this section may be granted period not exceed 5 consecutive years upon expiration. Temporary abandonment sustenance owner and operator shall not do one of the following: operate the well permitted to purpose plug up abandoned well in accordance with the Indiana Code 1437 as a rule. Submit with the temporary request abandonment renewal according to the requirements of subsection B and C, but in consideration whether extend the period of temporary abandonment beyond the initial 5-year period, division director may require that the owner and operator submit additional information justifying with the needs continuing temporary abandonment to ensure the protection environment is validated. The likelihood of the well return to active status properly plugged and abandoned is required with the article. Such additional information may include, but not in the following: list all of the improvement to work over the required to equip the well as to active status of the description, other improvement in infrastructure will the need to return the well to active status, and itemized costs with associated with each of the improvement to work over identified in subdivision 1 and 2 of the date and time of the schedule for completing all the work over improvement identified by the owner and operator, estimate with the cost and plug with abandoning of the well, independent plugging contractor, owner, and operator must notify the division in 30 days any change of the operation status of the well has been granted temporary abandonment status under this section. Operator well subject to this section remove the own well from temporary abandonment status. Authorization injective the grant authorization to inject granted in 312 Indiana Code 2928. 1. Withdrawal of the division grant temporary abandonment status. Class 2 well injection operations shall be recommenced unless requirements 312 Indiana Code 2928. 1B or met. Division has been issued new authorization injection. Specifications meant used in plugging wells. Cements used for the plugging with wells rule of the Class A and C with regard to the specifications of cement wells for the cementing with American Petroleum Institute API Specification 10A, Columbus Standard Specification Portland Cement ASTM International C150-150M May 2011. The property type of the use of the cement include with the cement additive determinative of the corns commonly recognized industry standard that provided the following minimum weight of 13 pounds per gallon of the cement with containing the additive that improve the ability to cement with the provided notice for the necessary protection maintain a minimum comprehensive strength with 500 pounds per square inch, 72 hours within isolating with a well-bored underground source of the drinking water, prevent significant loss of cement into voids, lost circulations on to prevent gas flow with the movement any flows annually through the cemented portion of the plugging well, protect commercially mineable coal resources required in 312 of the Indiana Code Administrative 2917, written notes of the intent of the plugging well plug plan, except provided in section 9 and 10 of this rule, the owner and operator shall give the written notice of division intent of the existing with at least 15 days of the commencing of the plug of the well with the written notice required in subsection A shall be informed prescribed with the division. C, within unless plugging with the well is previously submitted the division with the notice required in subsection B, within include the plan and plugging with the well to describe the specific method that would be used, specify the day of the plugging operations will commence if known and indicate compliance with the rules indicating the location each of the cement plug to be placed in the well. Notification underground storage operator at least 10 days before the commencing of the plugging any well located a half mile with the underground storage facility boundary. Owner and operator should give the written notice of the plugging the well underground storage facility. Owner and operator with the notice shall include the copy of the well plugging plan indicated the day of the which plugging is planned to commence. For the opportunity, the underground storage operator to have the representative present with a witness of the well plugging operation. Notice of oil and gas inspector. Unless an emergency urgent condition exists under section 9 of the rule, in addition with the written notice and plan required in section 7 of the rule, an owner and operator shall provide with the notice of oil and gas inspector signed with the well the day of the time of the well plugging operation shall commence. Scheduled to commence, the notice shall consist of at least one of the following written notice delivered in person to the inspector, an email message sent to the inspector to read, recipient request verified the date with the time the inspector reads the message, verbal communication provided to the person telephone to the inspector, voicemail message left to the telephone inspector, either the verbal communication to the person telephone assistant director field inspection or mail message left on the telephone of the assistant director of field inspection unless a short time in the notification agreed with the oil gas inspector the owner and operator. The owner and operator may give the notification required in subsection 8 at least 12 hours before the time of commencing plugging operation wells to plug dry hole immediately following the addition of the drilling operation 8 to 48 hours before the time scheduled for commencing plugging operation for a well not described in subdivision 1C. Owner and operator must commence the plugging operation without oil and gas master present unless the owner and operator has complied with the notice requirements of the section and obtained the division approval for the plugging plan. Procedure for plugging well with the emergency urgent condition. Notwithstanding section 6 and 8 of this rule with emergency urgent condition, except for the requirement of immediate plugging with the well, the owner and operator with the may commence with the well plugging operations upon oral communication with the plugging with the well, recipient with the oral approval from at least one of the following division director, the assistant director of field inspection, the assistant director of the underground injection technical services. Purpose of the section emergency condition exists if the well is leaking and the discharging oil of the gas fluids in quantity for the capable of causing substantial harm to the environment, posing immediate health of the public and threat, and exist the purpose of the section of the urgent condition exists if the delay with the plugging of the well is likely to result in a substantial increase of the cost of the plug of the well due to the impending weather the other conditions ever beyond the control of the owner and operator. Order re-drill of the replug of the well. The division director may require an owner to operator re-drill of the replug of the well if the owner and operator does not comply with the requirements of section 5 of the 9 of this rule. Management, storage, and plugging of the waste and plugging pits or discharge fluid with the active with the associated plugging operation any surface of the groundwater isolation in a location where it is likely to cause pollution in any surface of the groundwater and prohibited to when the plugging the well with the owner and operator provide at least one plugging pit, leak-free, portable, above-ground tank of the plugging fluid waste are deposited. Where excavated plugging pits are used, they should be constructed with the maintain and provide a minimum of 2 feet of free board of all times. L. Excavated plugging pits constructed with a liner with one of the following methods: synthetic liner meeting requirements 312 Indiana Code 29 2921 2B. Compacted clay liner may be applied with the both sides of the pit with the created impervious barrier. Constructing compacted clay liner should be in accordance with the accepted construction design principle of design with the prevent linear leakage seepage from the pit. The clay used. Constructed liner may be suited with a mix with additional offsite with the materials on site with the clay as inadequate other material with the method of the linear construction. Liner construction may be with the authorized division, directed for the other demonstrator that made with the opponent and operative assessment materials method provide with equivalent production protection, preventing leakage seepage fluids from the pit prior to excavation, plugging in the pit title lands that owner and operational control with the surface owner determine the location subsurface drainage shovel may present with the air with the excavation operators conduct with the main with the avoid damage of the subsurface drainage system where practical the owner and operator reasonable to repair replace any subsurface drainage tiles that are damaged during the pit construction backfilling operation. Plugging pits used for the temporary storage plugging fluid waste provided within the control should not be used to dispose of the other waste or not directly resulting from plugging operation. Plugging fluid disposal and pit closure requirements. Within 30 days of the conclusion, well plugging operation fluid material of the plugging pit was managed according to the requirements section of the pit is backfilled to restore specified in subsection D. Plumbing pit content should be removed to make maximum extent practicable, and if not, recycle with another well. Location waste should be disposed of the one well with the following. Transparent permitted land authorization, except for the type of the wave, the treatment to discharge of the fluid, and improve the national pollution discharge elimination system permitted facility. Disposal fluid injection of the class 2 well with the treatment with the disposal of any other method of the division directive with the after consultation with the Department of Environmental Management. Any synthetic layer should be removed with the full extent of the practical properly dispose of the recycle with the closed plug pay with the should be filed with the native material with excavation and strip the site with a stable with allowing settling of the final contour restored as possible of the original land. Prohibition of unauthorized materials in the well. The section of the prohibited placement with any of the foreign materials not expressly authorized for the article plug of the law well, except the unavoidable loss of the drilling logging tool for the production equipment damage of the casing of the obstruction of the well bore with the owner and operator shall be place not allow any shall not place or allow any unauthorized material in an unplugged well or filled or bridge the hole before plugging operation commences. Any unauthorized material shall be removed. Plugging of the bridge well if the drilling of the logging tool for the production damage equipment damaging casing other obstruction material encountered removal of the obstruction is impracticable. Division director and authorized representative may approve of the alternate plugging requirement, determine the approve of the alternate plugging requirement of the division, consider the following: time and cost of removing the tool loss over the tools over the equipment, the depth of the loss over the tool, the equipment, the relation depth of the underground source for the drinking water, the condition of the well, including well construction, whether the caving, other conditions of the maze may pose substantial risk for the loss of the tools and equipment, potential upward mitigation of the well bore fluids into the underground source of the drinking water, placement of the cement behind the uncemented casings. Section establishing requirements of the ensuring with the placement of the cement behind with the uncemented casing string of the well when plugging any well the cement is not present outside of the casing. Each of the each cement casing cement plug required with this rule and owner and operator remove the perforate with the part of the rip of the casing at 50 feet interval to ensure adequate cement is placed in the angular space behind the casing of the division may require an owner and operator to run the cement bond variable density log. Insufficient information is not otherwise available. Determine the location of cement outside the casing. Dry hole bottom plug. Section of the established requirement section bottom plug with a dry hole with another well with the production casing is not set with the cement. Then owner and shall plug any well with the production casing not set with the cemented immediately after drilling ceases. Well should be filled with the drilling cuttings must extend with the bottom of the well at least 50 feet below the deeper of the commercial mineable coal resource identified under 312 of Indiana Code 2917 based on lowermost underground source of the drinking water. Sees hole bottom plug other horizontal coal bed methane wells. Section establishes the requirement setting of the bottom plug with a case well with the other than a horizontal coal bed methane well with the owner and operator circulation method except for the provided subsection D with a cement plug must be placed across each of the completed interval across the expo with the interval into which the injection is occurred within 1/4 mile with the radius of the well with the bottom of the cement plug shall be set with the beginning with a shallow with the 50 feet with the depth of the completed interval with the total depth of the plug back. Total depth of the plug shall be extended at least 250 feet with the uppermost completed interval with the owner and operator remove the dump of the baler method except for the provided subsection D with the cast iron bridge plug must be set inside of the cemented portion of the casing immediately above it and either with each of the completed interval with a minimum of 10 feet with a cement with the place on top of each of the cast iron bridge plug lowest most completed interval with a well-bore case ceiling with a 750 feet with above the top of the uppermost completed interval with the production casing of the well-bore annual cemented with the 50 feet above the uppermost completed interval instead of setting of the plug bottom under subsection B and C with the owner and operator may do the following if each of the circulation mess in place cement with a total depth of 3 feet below with the ground elevation for any of the well with a 2 feet two or fewer completed zones, circulated casing, except for the well flowing with the gas fluid, with the surface of the subsurface and surface pumping of the bulb, well-headed pumping with the cement with the outermost perforated zone of 3 feet below the surface. Horizontal well, instead of cementing the bottom plug with the total depth of the plug back, the total depth of either of the following methods may use. Well bore should be filled with a made up with a kickoff point. Cement plugs not less than 250 feet should be placed above the point. Cast iron bridge plug should be set aside with a cemented production casing below with the kickoff point as low in the well as will curve allow with a cement plug is not less than 200 feet should be placed on the top of the bridge plug. Regardless of the method used, the placing cement with the owner and operator must cast iron with the bridge plug at the location identified in subsection C1 and C2 in any well with flowing gas fluid to the surface. Alright, your horizontal cold bed methane well bottom plugs. This section establishes requirements for the setting of the bottom plug horizontal cold bed methane wells unless prior with the consent of the receiving in a code 1437.48.5F and 1437.4.8.5G. An owner and operator must plug with a horizontal drain well portion cold bed methane using type amounts plugging material specified in the plan previously approved under section 5 of this rule. The use of the material of the plugging horizontal hole drain hole portion of the cold bed methane wells are different than type of the give a different amount with the specified plan previously approved in section 8 of this room may only be for the written consent with the given the co-owner of the director finds that such for the type of the amount of plugging material not likely to result with a waste of commercial mineable coal resource adversely affect the health or safety of underground miners. Section does not require the operator to plug with a horizontal drain hole portion of the coal bed methane well with the co-owner gives the written consent with the drilling of the well Indiana Code 1437.4.8.5F and G. Upon completion of plugging horizontal drain hole with a portion coal bed methane well, the owner and operator must either place a cement plug beginning with a plug back total depth of extending for the minimum distance of 200 feet above the point. Use mud to fill with the well, but bore with the plug back total depth of the kickoff point in place for the cement bottom plug of the beginning of the well curve with the kickoff point with extend with the plug with a minimum distance 250 feet above that point. Alright, approval of materials of filling intervals between plugs. This section establishes the requirements filling intervals between plugs required under this section. Unless specified otherwise, uncemented intervals between any of the plugs required under this rule may be filled with pea gravel, crushed rock, mud, bentonol gel, or water. Plugging requirement to protect commercial mineable coal resources. This section establishes the requirement of plugging the well with the oil gas purpose to protect the coal seam and identify with the commercial mineable coal resources. For preparing the notice of the well, plugging with under section 6 of the rule, owner and operator must determine the well is located in the area with consent of the commercial mineable coal resource under 312 of the Indiana Code 29.17.1 and 17.2. If the well plug is located in the area with consent of the commercial mineable coal resource, the operator must submit with a copy to prepare with the well plugging plan with his own owner, leaser, any other person with the right to develop the commercial mineable coal resource by underground mining method approved. The notification made to demonstrate the one with the following receipt certified by or with the other curve that provides proof of the delivery, sign the date with the written statement that each part they can tell with the notice identified with the well to be plugged with the acknowledgement received with the plugging plan. Copies of the plugging plan contain with the dated signature for each of the party entitled with the notice with the acknowledgement received with the plan. The person with the coal interest shall be given at least 15 days to review the plan. Recommend any suggested provisions that only an operative of the person with the coal interest believe it necessary to provide increased protection of the commercial mineable resource is provided in subsection E of determining whether the person coal interest to pay with additional costs which might be the result of the use of additional protective measures referenced in subdivision 2 of the if the person with the coal interest into the U.S. Mine Safety Health Administration improve the conduct underground coal mining operation close proximity affected oil and gas will determine additional coal seam protection measures are needed. Person may request for the owner and operator to do either both of the following: cement plug required in section B and beginning at the point deeper than 50 feet below each coal seam include commonly used additive of the result of expansion cement mixture as it cures. The owner and operator must prepare with a well plugging plan includes additional coal seam protection measure for the request under subsection E of the additional protection measure for the consistent commonly accepted practice of the coal seam protection for the similar wells plugged in the Illinois basin. The person with the coal interest agree with the pay of the additional costs that may result from the use of additional coal seam protection measure. The owner and operator shall be only responsible for the same when the coal seam plug under requirement subsection H for the person with the coal interest does not provide the responsible 15 days prescribed with the subsection C with the person provides written notification no special plugging requirements are necessary except for provided under subsection C and through F. The owner and operator must set a cement plug beginning at the depth of at least 50 feet with each of the coal considered the commercially mineable coal resource extending the depth of 3 feet below the ground elevation top of the uppermost commercial mineable coal resource is greater than 200 feet below the base of the lowermost source of the underground drinking water. Top of the cement may extend with a depth of 100 feet above the uppermost commercial mineable coal resource. The requirements of this section do not apply for the plugging coal bed methane well if the consent of the coal owner and the coal lease is granted under Indiana Code 14374 8.5D2. Alright, total plug requirements. Section established for the requirement setting with the top of the plug well. The only operator must stop at the top of the plug, beginning with the depth of 50 feet below the lower underground source for the drinking water, extend with the depth of 3 feet below the ground elevation, 72 hours after the shipment of the top of the plug. Under Section B, with the owner and operator confirming the level of the top of the cement inside casing, outside casing with the cement with the top of the cannot be confirmed visually. The operator shall measure the depth of the top of the cement using the wire line, other suitable distance measuring method. Owner and operator must fill the casing wall annulus within 3 feet of the ground elevation cement with the other plugging materials provided in subsection D. When cementing with the top of the fallen with no more than 100 feet below the ground elevation, the well will be filled with a bentonite cement poured with a strip within the well annulus over the column of the water greater than 10 feet with the top of the cement. Cement must be placed in circulation methods with the U of the bentonite chip within the subsection D, which shall comply with the following. Bentonite should be engraved with a commercial marketed with the U of the ceiling and plugging earth with a borehole unless otherwise of the division bentonite, which shall have the typical particles of no less than 3/8 of an inch unless of the bentonite chips compressed, specially coated with the retard with the rate of hydration when the pour through the standing water. The chips shall be screened prior to the placement of the well to remove fine particles. When using bentonite chip with the fill, annular chips shall be poured directly into the annular space at the top of the well, provided with a hole diameter outside of the annular space to be filled as at least 1.5 inches greater than the outside diameter of the casing. Total volume of the bentonite chip should be calculated with complete fill with the intent of the top of the plug interval with the full hydrated. Sufficient water shall be placed with the well to ensure the full hydration of the bentonite chip. The bentonite chip does not use the water containing in excess of 20,000 milligrams a liter of the total chlorized bentonite chip poured in the well at a rate prevents bridging into the well. It is recommended the chips be poured at a rate of 2 to 3 minutes per 50-pound bag. Fill site identified location plug well will in future no surface the casing of the production casing remains in the well. The owner and operator may place a steel plate at least 4.25 inch thick and not less than 8 inches in diameter at the top of the cemented well bore steel plate. Should be encased incorporated in the cement with one top foot over the top of the cement with approximately 3 feet below the ground elevation. Using plugging materials other than cement, the division of the director may approve using plugging materials other than cement and bentonite chips provided in Section 20 of this rule. The owner and operator demonstrate that the material provides equal or greater protection of the commercial mineable coal resource and underground source of drinking water and prevents movement of any oil, gas, coal bed, methane, and other fluids of the original formation. Filing of the well plugging reports within 30 days of the finishing of the well plugging operation under this rule. The owner and operator shall complete with the following plugging report with a division form provided with the division report shall describing the details specific benefit of the plugging well include with the tabs amount of the cement that even the bentonite provided in Section 20 of the rule materials provided in Section 21. Be some of the well owner operative with the person with the form of the well plugging in the operation include affidavit certifying when the well was plugged in Indiana Code 1437 and 8 with the requirements of this rule with the company with the plugging the report required. Subsection of the owner and operator shall provide with a copy of the following cement tickets documenting the type of amount of the cement used, the job tickets, all of the wire line services during the well plugging operation, cement bond variable density logs if run during the plugging operation, final well site abandonment reclamation. Within 6 months after the well is plugged with the owner operator should do with the following cut off and then remove all casing from the 3 feet below the ground elevation of the strip of the closed work over the tanks, plugging pits, handle the content in accordance with the requirements of 312I and 2921, 3B and 3D, except the otherwise provided with the subdivision, remove the drilling with the production equipment that rock with the concrete-based substructure of machinery above ground flow lines and equipment that debris associated with the well rocking concrete bases may be buried on site with the buried at least 3 feet below the ground surface of the landowner may assume responsibility equipment over the structure of the landowner submit the written lease released to the division form and identify with any of the equipment and structure of the landowner assuming the responsibility to be restored on the well site with the nearly practical condition before drilling. Within 6 months after the lease of the last well of the lease is plugged with the owner and operator must do with the following: backfill with the regrade all excavation, clean backfill, regrade any pits, concrete storage structure used to store produced fluids as required under this article, clean, remove all tanks and separate as other above ground storage vessels, clean, remove all above ground flow lines, demolish and remove all buildings, electrical power line poles, pumping houses, other structure of the production operation unless for the written authorization obtained from the owner to leave at a facility in place of the written lease shall be submitted to division with the division form that identify that any of the equipment structure of the landowner assuming the responsibility, remove all contaminated decks and backfill the regrade of the tanker battery facility location, remove without proposed disposal of any of the remaining production equipment, pipes and fittings, concrete pads, equipment debris with contaminated soil with the general oil field waste. Proof of the denial application notice. The division shall issue the notice or proof of the denial application submitted under Section 3464 1418 in rule accordance with 312 in Indiana Code 29335. A decision to approve or deny the application subject to Indiana Code 21.5. 34. Inspection enforcement, inspection wells and production facilities. Division Director authorized representative of the meet in a reasonable time to enter the palm of the public and private property where well and oil gas purposes is being drilled has been drilled for the purpose of the inspection assertion compliant with the Indiana Code 1437 in this article. Warning of the non-compliance. Division Director of the authorized representative may issue the warning of the non-compliance under section in lieu of the notice violation not contained in this section, particularly for the immediate subsequent issue of the notice violation. Written warning of the non-compliance may be the of the Division Director were observed the violation does not involve the damage of property pose an immediate threat to the environment or to the public health and safety. Written warning of the non-compliance is not subject to administrative review under Indiana Code 1421.5. Warning non-compliance may include the following: nature of non-compliance, action, appropriate debate with non-compliance, the date with which non-compliance must be abated. The written warning of non-compliance should not be considered when determining whether the person has outstanding violation of purpose of the permit denial under Section 312 of Indiana Code 2947. Establish a pattern of willful violation purpose of the permit revocation under Section 6 of this rule, and establish history of the violation purpose of civil penalty assessment under Section 5 of this rule. Notice of violation. The Division Director authorized or representative may issue the notice of violation against any person who violates Indiana Code 1437 or this article. A written notice violation shall include the following: the nature of violation, the action necessary to abate the violation, date of the by which a violation must be abated, a person with which of the written request of administrative review notice of violation, 30 days issued with the following address: National Resource Commission Division Hearings, Indiana Government Center North, Room 9. N103, 100 North Senate Avenue, Indianapolis, Indiana 46204. Written notice violation shall be considered properly served upon personal delivery upon the owner and operative service of the United States First Class Mail with the email to address the record on file with the division. Date established for the abating of the violation under subsection B3 by extending with the Division Director authorized representative upon with the request of the owner and operator to demonstrate with the abatement with original time established and not practical due to the scope of the action of the required abatement the circumstance beyond the control of the owner and operator. The abating of the violation will not subsequently increase the damage to the property, increase the threat to the environment, increase the threat to the public or health or safety. A notice of violation issued within the section becomes effective with the proceeding under Section Indiana Code 421.5 unless the person requests administrative review under Indiana Code 421.5, 3, 6, and 30 days of the issuance. Civil penalties. Or the Division Director authorized representative may assess civil penalties for the violation of the Indiana Code 1437 or this article after considering the following factors: seriousness of the violation, including whether the violation resulted in had or potential the damage of property adversely affected with the had, potential adversely affected with the environment, threatened or caused harm to public and health and safety, extent with which violation appears that it has been caused willfully, thorough, and negligent through the failure of the exercisable reasonable care to prevent occurrence of the violation, ordinance operator, history of violation, including violation of other locations of the other permits, extent with the width of factors beyond the control of the owner and operator may cause with contributed to the violation. The civil penalty assessment served with the prescribed Section 3C of this rule that included following information exemption, explanation issued with the civil penalty assessment with the amount of civil penalty assessed, and notice of the person with the following written request administrative review with the civil penalty assessment, 30 days issuance of the following address: in the Natural Resource Commission Division Hearing, Indiana Government Center, North Room N103 and 100 North Senate Avenue, Indianapolis, Indiana 46204. Civil penalty assessment becomes effective without proceeding Indiana Code 421.5.3 unless the person requests administrative review in Indiana Code 421.5 within 30 days of the assessment. Permit revocation procedure. The Division Director may initiate proceedings under Indiana Code 421.5 and Indiana Code 420.37 to revoke a permit with a well oil gas purpose of finding that the permit was issued with a fraud and misrepresentation. Information conditions upon which the permit was issued have substantially changed since the issuance. Owner and operator has failed to maintain the bond and permit specified, and owner has violated the Indiana Code 1437 of this article. Owner and operator of the well oil gas purposes polluting waters in the land of the Indiana. Owner and operator has been issued with a notice of violation under Section 3 of this rule, has failed with at least one of the following: abate with the violation prescribed the period of the secure of the writing extension for the time of the abatement of the violation before the expiration period of the establishment of the abatement. First, the proceeding in Indiana Code 421.536 within 30 days of the receipt of the no violation period to provide with the division of abatement which is never longer Addition of the grounds off of the permit revocation set forth in subsection A permit class 2 wells may be revoked, modified, reissued Indiana Code 421.535 where there is substantial change of the condition of the operation class 2 wells, substantial change of the information upon when the permit was issued, reasonable cause to believe that permitted operations may result in the movement of fluids into the underground source of the drinking water other than exempted water fire aquifer. Re-permitting a well for oil and gas purposes following revocation. A person other than the person who was permitted but was revoked may only obtain a permit for the well revoked under Indiana Code 1437, Section 5 of the rule. A permit is necessary with the full responsible abatement of the violation, operation, maintenance, plugging of the well. And that completes the Indiana Title 30 and 12 Natural Resource on oil, Article Oil and Gas.